What's up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to episode 30 of the Boochcast Reviews, Darkside of the Ring. And once again, we've made it to the finish line. This is it until they decide to drop a season 4. This will be the final episode of Boochcast Reviews, Darkside of the Ring for now. And of course, as you can see, I am joined by the one and only Mr. Gator Ricky Ross.
Look, Mr. Booch, really, titties out! Oh, look, the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes, and they hit a breeze and chicken's done. So, ladies and gentlemen, we were supposed to have Elvis Delinsky with us, but he has not called me back. And Gators once again on a time limit. So, sorry, Elvis, you snooze, you lose. If we end up doing a part 2 of this because Zoom fucks us up and Elvis calls in, maybe he'll join in. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen,
colder than a banker's heart, I had to put the titties up.
Okay, fair enough. So, we now, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the moment you got that Gator's been waiting for, and that is, of course,
wait a minute, can I do it?
Do it.
SMUT and FILTH.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for one of the most controversial moments in wrestling history, a moment that almost killed the business. And no, I ain't talking about the dumb fucks. I'm talking about the steroid trials. And of course, Gator pointing at the SMUT and FILTH. And ladies and gentlemen, through the 80s and into the 90s, on the back of Hulk Hogan's larger-than-life physique, the World Wrestling Federation was a merchandising machine generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. But then, news broke out that the mastermind behind the WWE's unrivaled prosperity was accused of pushing steroids on his wrestlers. Everybody was on steroids back then, and they did what they had to do to give the people what they wanted to see. It also gave them a better position to make more money. Vince was aware that the guys were taking steroids, and at the time, didn't care. He didn't care. Vince had no desire to end it and didn't see it as an issue until they became illegal. Before that time, it was as legal as taking an aspirin. Authorities sought a high-profile case to make clear they would prosecute steroid users and pushers. Wrestlers were a flashing red light for the government to make an example out of Vince. A conviction would have taken the whole company down. Vince would have ended up serving 8 years in prison and $500,000 in fines. All that from steroids.
There is SMUT and FILTH. No, Mr. Bucciarelli, here's the thing. Back in the 70s and 80s, there was a certain physique that was physique. This is the example. Certain physique that was expected with the World Wrestling Federation, then the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. It was 3 W's. It wasn't like the Southern Wrestling where guys looked like this, fat.
Yes.
Had the fucking stomach and the titties and the. Okay, we looked like this. It was a different time when men looked like men, but then now we've got this whole situation with steroids. So it's a fine line of what is considered a drug. This is the whole situation here in this episode. This is what they're asking is at this time when steroid is considered a drug. Here's the thing. This could have completely ruined Vince McMahon to the point to where WCW could have been a bigger player.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about this and the outcomes of this, if it had went the other way, there could have been an entirely different landscape of wrestling. Maybe it wouldn't suck.
Who knows?
Or it wouldn't look like this biggity faggity motherfucker. No.
Easy, Gator, easy. We are on YouTube.
Okay, biggity asshole.
I'm just saying. I got in trouble. We actually got in trouble for that a few weeks back with Johnny K9. That's why I'm saying we need to be tame. Yeah,
asshole motherfucker.
All right.
Son of a bitch.
Yes.
Making us Republicans have a bad name. What else do you want?
Oh yeah, that's
no good fucking cheating ass that had a wife that was a fucking moron.
Yes.
that tried to take down all the followers of Jerry Truman.
Yes. Yes, the followers of Jerry Truman. Yes.
Can I not say it that way?
You say it that way. It's perfect. Shout out to
The
Jerry.
Butt Pirates, the Friends of Dorothy.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. Shout out to my main man Jerry Truman. Now, with 2 trials looming, those involved found themselves tangled in a world of surveillance and paranoia. Vince faced down a parade of superstar witnesses who held his fate in their hands.
You know what's funny? If I put my head like right about here, it looks like I'm blonde.
Exactly. I don't think it fits you. If Vince tried to get his wrestlers steroids, he would be viewed as a drug dealer in the eyes of the feds.
Right.
And the federal government tried to take down professional wrestling. But little did they know they had Jeremy McDivitt and Vince McMahon who promptly kicked their ass.
Well, here's the thing. This is also the time when it starts to become sports entertainment, not just professional wrestling as well. That name starts getting thrown around at this time as well.
Yes. And here's the thing, and I'll get into this, was like that was the big challenge. And I remember superstar Billy Graham. I'll use him as an example. He was on, I can't remember the news network. I can't remember if it was CNN or MSNBC or Fox. It was one of the 3. And they asked him, this is right around when the whole He Who Must Not Be Named incident took place. And worse than Smut and Filth. Worse than Smut and Filth could ever be. When Billy Graham was on the show, they asked him about steroids. And they said, you know, in football and in baseball, they were cracking down on steroid use and really going after it. But they said wrestling always seems to fly under the radar a lot of the time. And they asked Billy Graham straight out, why does wrestling seem to get a free pass? And Billy Graham gave the best answer to that question any wrestler has ever given that's ever appeared on the news. His answer was simple. Because none of you respect professional wrestling. You look at us as fake athletes.
Yep.
You don't take us seriously, so you don't really care. And the only time you do care is when someone dies, so you have a statistic to put across a scroll. Yep. And own their asses. Most beautiful thing I ever heard a wrestler say. Billy Graham, my hat is off to you, sir. Yes. Bald head and all.
Yes. Should I show the titties again?
Show the titties again.
Show the titties!
Tits out for a superstar. Jerry McDivitt was the lawyer and currently partner at K&L Gates and represented Vince McMahon for 30 years. He also worked on and I'll say the name for this, the Chris Benoit situation and the case of Owen's death. So he was also Vince's lawyer during those 2 ordeals, which you can learn about the Chris Benoit stuff. Watch episodes 7 and 8 of Darkside of the Ring and episode 16 for the Owen Hart, if you'd like to know more about that.
Very sad episode. That's a sad episode.
It is. Elvis and Desmond and I we got through it, but it wasn't easy. Jim Ross says he's the most intelligent man he's ever met, and his intellect is scary. About Jerry McDivitt. On his desk is a quote that says, "It's our wits that make us men." Vince has been the top promoter in wrestling for over 35 years. Without Hogan, he wouldn't be near as successful as he is today. I'm going to say that one more time for the marks.
Yep.
Without Hogan, he would not have been as successful as he is today.
Mm-hmm.
Say that one more time. Hogan was the biggest star in wrestling. I'm going to say that one more time for the marks. Hogan was the biggest star in wrestling, and the business exploded on his back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
He was the all-American hero, and at the time, he had a great physique. That's what fans were into and responded to back then. And they did. They loved the big, muscular guys. It wasn't just Vince having a fetish. The fans were into that too, and the reason they were is because fans didn't want to see a wrestler who looked like them. They wanted the larger-than-life person they could believe.
Yeah, if you didn't have a personality, Ultimate Warrior. I'm sorry, I have a cold.
Yeah,
like a Ric Flair or a Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair did not have the bodies.
Not at all.
But they could work and they had a personality. So if you didn't have any of that, then you had to go with what you could control, which was your physique.
Exactly. And I do give Dusty credit. He didn't hide that at all. I still remember in that Hard Times promo, he said, I don't look like the typical athlete supposed to look. My belly's just a little big, my highness is a little big, but brother, I'm bad and they know I'm bad. And that made you forget his physique. Yeah. So I give Dusty credit on that. He acknowledged it, but said, look, I'm fat, but I can still fuck you up. And you still didn't want to fight him. And
King Kong Bundy. I could name a list of guys that did not look like this.
Yeah.
That had personalities. That Bobby Eaton had personalities that got them over. Yeah. It's not always about this body.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that's what they responded to back then. And the wrestlers were getting bigger and bigger, and it became a tool to sell merchandise. 90% of the wrestlers at that time were on steroids. Yes. And some of them have admitted to doing it. I know Flair's admitted to doing steroids at one point. Randy Savage, he admitted doing steroids, but he then told kids, he goes, I tried it for a little bit, but I didn't really, and then I stopped when it became illegal. I did it when it was legal, and I stopped when it wasn't anymore. But still, kids, it's like poison in your body. Don't do it. And on a side note, it gave me a really bad case of PMS, just to get the crowd to laugh. God, I love Randy Savage. In the 80s, if the steroids were prescribed by a personal physician for the treatment of an injury or disease, then they were legal. And the W Superstars had an unlimited supply thanks to a willing accomplice, Dr. George Zahorian.
That's all you had to say. And if you think about it, was, oh man, my back's killing me. Oh man, my knee's killing me. Oh man, something's going on. Hey, they could give you could lie and get steroids like that back.
It's like going to a marijuana dispensary. All you have to do is say, I'm having some anxiety and depression. Boom, here you go. And they give you a card. Doctor will give you a card, go to a dispensary and get it.
Or all you had to say was that was wrong, and then you could just be a dick like this. Look at it. Look at it. My damn field.
Yes. So George Zahorian, he was the ringside physician for the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission. He would ringside all the TV tapings in Allentown, Pennsylvania. He was a certified urologist and was responsible for examining each wrestler to ensure they are healthy enough to perform. So a guy who specializes in the dick is examining your overall health. I thought that was
yes, Mr. Boudreaux. He was making you ride fine.
Yes. Which is definitely ironic. The guy who is responsible for the private area prescribes you a drug that fucks with the private area.
Hey. Look, he might have had a small Peter, but he was going to be the biggest sumbitch in wrestling one way or the other.
285 pounds of wrestling. He came in in a swim trunks and a fur coat, so you can't act like he ain't big as shit.
Mm-hmm. But then he got home, and you look down, and you go, oh. But I hit it from the back though. Hit it from the back though.
Yes.
Just film on.
Yes. He would offer them steroids after their physical. They weren't pressured. He offered them. They weren't pressured. And he sold them steroids. He also sold Valium, Tylenol 3, Percocet, pain pills, and a word I don't want to use, but it's in here, somas. And he sold those
not
too.
the soma.
Yeah, he sold the somas too. Yeah, the somas. That's every wrestler's kryptonite, ladies and gentlemen.
It's bad.
Yes. There was high pressure to look your best and keep your spot in the business. It was an open secret for over a decade, and despite other athletes being labeled as cheaters, they stayed under the radar. And am I the only one that doesn't really look at steroids as cheating? I think that's stupid.
I don't think it's cheating.
I don't. I mean, if somebody wants to fuck their body up doing steroids, that's their decision. I don't see it as cheating. I don't. I really don't. I think the whole thing that people getting mad over steroids is stupid. There's plenty of other shit we can get mad at athletes for doing. Steroids should not be one of them. The fact that we spent most of the early 2000s obsessing over steroids in baseball when there was so much other shit we had to worry about pissed me off.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, I don't give a fuck. I don't even care that Lance Armstrong did them. The motherfucker rode a bicycle and made the Tour de France relevant. You notice ever since he's retired and ever since they got rid of him? Yeah, with one nut. And here's the thing, though. They took away all of his victories, stripped them from the record books, but they're still keeping all the money he raised for cancer, just so you know. They're keeping the money, but getting rid of his stuff because they're pieces of shit. Sorry, you were saying something?
You can't do both?
Yeah. If you're gonna do that, give back the money then. Give back the blood money, as you would call it. Fucking seriously. Americans get mad over dumbest shit. Why sports is such an obsession, I'll never fucking get it. In my life, I'll never understand it. I'm 35, still don't fucking get it. Anyway, there was a lot of hysteria about steroids back then. They made it seem they were misusing a drug that was made for some other purpose. Steroids is the only drug in America for which the drug manufacturers were not required to give dosage, duration, and adverse side effects for the purpose it was made, which was athletic enhancement.
Yes. It enhanced you athletically, but it dehanced you aesthetically.
Yes, exactly. And ruined your
that
life.
Was good. Give me that. That was good.
No, it was fantastic. That was fantastic. And it ruins your life sexually.
I would have said aesthetically, yeah.
There's a lot of good, truthful reels to tell people what damages can be done by taking these drugs that you don't need to lie to them about. Just tell them the truth. But the government never did that. Oh, shocker. The government doesn't tell the truth?
No, the government never lied. Just like they didn't tell you that this guy's a fucking dick. SMUT and FILTH.
Oh, what a shocker.
Yes.
They just made it illegal in 1990 to
Mr.
put it in.
You didn't know that the government didn't trust in me.
A trust in me.
Yes, something we've heard from wrestling promoters and politicians.
Exactly. They just made it illegal in 1990 to put it in the same category as cocaine and meth.
Wait, what?
They put steroids in the same category as if you were dealing cocaine or meth.
Okay. Time out. It makes your dick little. It ain't that big a damn deal.
No.
It just makes your dick little.
The only thing those drugs have in common is they affect your sexual performance. That's it. Other than that, steroids is not going to ruin you as bad as cocaine or meth will. Okay? It's not. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my fucking life.
But it will make you think that you're above God.
Yes. It does. Bill Dunn gets pressured.
It will also make you legally change your name to Warrior.
That is a bad side.
What else it will make you do, Mr. Bucciarelli? You know what else it'll make you do?
What will it make you do?
Right, biggity fucking posts.
That is what
make you do, Mr. Bucciarelli?
What will it do?
Be a fucking huge flaming dick.
Yes, flaming.
You know what else it'll make you do, Mr. Bucciarelli?
What will it make you do?
Make your ex-wife try to stand up for you and tell everybody that they put out SMUT and FILTH, even though they put out the fucking truth about how big of a bigot and a fucking prick you were, and how you were, and I quote, a flaming no good douchebag.
There's only one thing I need to correct in that statement.
Yes.
Dana is not the ex-wife; she's the late wife. The
ex-wife, who gives a fuck?
Because the ex-wife is the girl who was in Darkside of the Ring.
Oh, she was
That's
cool.
the ex-wife.
Okay,
Dana is the late wife because they were still married when he died. So
that's fine. She can still choke on a penis. Anyway.
Right, fair enough.
What?
Bill Dunn gets pressured by the feds to rat out Dr. Zahorian. he agrees to sell Bill roids that he planned to sell to children. So what now? Yeah.
To the babies?
Apparently, he was selling them to children. The WWE decides to distance themselves from Zahorian. When they search his house, they find a picture of him with Vince and Hogan. They also find evidence that leads them to the footsteps of some of the wrestlers. One in particular, I'm sure, I don't know if you've met him. I know I've met him a few times. B. Brian Blair. They tampered with his mail and filmed it. They said you can testify on behalf of the government or you can go to jail. Are the feds allowed to do that?
I'm not sure because I'm not a fucking cop.
I'm just saying, I know tampering with the mail is a federal offense, but are the feds allowed to actually legally go through your mail? I don't think.
Can those commit federal offense?
Okay, I don't know. I mean, they got to have some kind of warrant or some shit, but
I don't know. Reading Rainbow.
Hulk Hogan's name was also on the list, and he was brought in to testify. Jerry tries to get Hogan excused from testifying to avoid bad publicity. And Hogan had legit doctor stories with Zahorian that, if revealed, would violate patient confidentiality clause that have nothing to do with this trial. The judge approved, and Hogan was excused. So that's how Hogan got out of this testimony.
Yes, because if Hogan had to testify, it would have fucked their business.
Mm-hmm. So Hogan's excused from the trial. And here's the thing I will say. The patient confidentiality thing, that is a valid reason, because that's a big thing about doctors. You cannot reveal doctor-patient confidentiality in a case. Like, that's why you have that rule. Doctors can't disclose the personal information. Patients can't either. It's like, that's why you have that in place, for people to feel comfortable going to the doctor. Zahorian is found guilty for selling steroids to wrestlers who are not his legitimate patients. However, on the last day of the trial, the lawyer reveals that Vince and Hogan bought steroids from Zahorian. Vince holds a press conference where he said the WWE will be the flag bearer for drug-free sports and entertainment. They will enact a drug test policy that included testing for steroids. Now, I think we can all agree back then the testing policy was shit.
It was shit.
It wasn't until the Benoit incident that they really took that drug test seriously. That's ultimately what made them take it seriously. But back then, this was something to just have on the books. Now, that night, Hogan appeared on Arsenio Hall. Hogan said he took steroids 3 times in 1983 to heal up from a bicep injury. Vince was mad when Hogan said this. Vince wanted Hogan to tell the truth, and he didn't tell the complete truth. He didn't go out there and say he took steroids on a regular basis. And here's the thing. I can understand and even respect why Hogan did that. When your whole gimmick revolves around the training, the prayers, the vitamins, and being a childhood hero, something like this can really fuck your business. So I get it. I get why they did it.
But Mr. Bucciarelli, question.
What?
Steroids are vitamins.
Yes, they are. But not, unfortunately, that didn't apply here.
Took his vitamins. He said his prayers, and then he looked like this.
All right. So Vince was on the Phil Donahue show and wanted to kill Meltzer and Arezzi. Arezzi tried to say his mom was threatened at their front door, because apparently they were saying shit about Vince, and Vince was looking to fucking kill him.
Uncle Dave?
Yeah, Uncle Dave. Yeah, he was going to get his ass kicked too. Phil Mushnick then starts writing hit pieces towards professional wrestling. He would say Vince is worse than Hannibal Lecter. Vince is worse than Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, Vince is worse than a cannibal. The Eastern District of New York started an investigation after reading one of his articles, but it wasn't an investigation. It was a witch hunt. They were basically looking for a reason to get rid of Vince McMahon. And for the next 18 months, Vince had to hunker down in case anyone came after him. Jerry researched steroids. Vince had his own spies investigating Phil Mushnick to get dirt on him. He said, I smoked pot in college. Take me down. Well, Phil Mushnick, I think we can all agree, is a piece of shit. If you're a wrestling fan, you can't respect this man. because he has no respect for you. And to quote an individual that Gator and I like him a good deal, go to hell, Phil Mushnick, and try to fix problems there, because we're doing just fine without you. Vince's limo driver, James Stewart, was going to testify that Vince personally asked him to deliver steroids to Hogan, but then he purged himself, so it didn't happen. He could not be reached by Darkside of the Ring for comments. Vince didn't want a thin, diminished Hogan on TV and decided to focus on smaller wrestlers like Brett and Shawn. This is right around the time when they start getting more of the spotlight and Hogan was slowly on his way out the door. Vince celebrated when he got indicted, because now he could end this by embarrassing the government in court. Stephanie and Shane were scared. Vince walked in with a neck brace. The people in the court cheered him. He was a babyface. He had neck surgery and didn't want to be on TV with a neck brace on, so he scheduled it for this time because he knew he wouldn't be on TV during the trial. Thought that was pretty genius.
Yeah, that is pretty genius.
Yeah. The prosecution team, led by Sean O'Shea, have a lineup of WWE superstars witnesses set to testify, including the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me move out of the frame.
Yep. This guy right here. The fact that Jerry was Hogan's attorney during the Sahorian trial made it a conflict of interest. So they brought in Laura Bravetti to represent McMahon while Jerry continued to represent WWE. And Laura would cross-examine Hogan. It also gave them double openings, closings, and cross-examinations. Can we just agree from a lawyer's standpoint that's fucking brilliant?
It is fucking brilliant.
Give yourself double openings, closings, and cross-examinations.
It's fucking brilliant. Smut and filth.
Yes. Another wrestler that was brought in was the Warlord. And he was just up there and told the truth. Vince never once forced him to use steroids. He also never bought them from Sahorian because his prices were too high. Damn. The rest that testified all bought steroids but didn't buy from Sahorian and weren't forced to take them by Vince. The jury scratched their heads like, why are you here? Like literally every wrestler one by one is killing the prosecution's case. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in a courtroom. Like, it's embarrassing. They all had steroid taking regimens that they had before coming to WWE, but that Vince stopped it when it became illegal in 1990. Nails was the one wrestler who said Vince pressured him to use steroids. He was a wrestler who wore an orange jumpsuit. So unlike Warrior and Hogan, he didn't have a body that you actually saw.
Yeah.
Laura asked Nails, do you have any animosity towards Vince? And he said no. Apparently he didn't know what animosity meant.
Oh my God.
So she said, do you hate Vince McMahon? And he says yes. He didn't know what animosity means.
Mr. Bucciarelli, it means it means when you hate animals.
Yes. Reading is fundamental. Don't forget that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Reading is fundamental. Smut and filth.
Yes. And Warrior thought the whole trial was weak. Vince took wrestling to another level and made a lot of enemies. That's what the Warrior had to say about all of this. And the prosecution got so desperate, they brought in Sahorian from a prison cell to testify against McMahon. He was transported to multiple solitary confinements. He denied his treatment affected his testimony. I believe that when me shit turns purple and smells like rainbow sherbets. He said he told Vince he was selling steroids, but Vince never told him to stop. Then his personal assistant, Emily Feinberg, had intimate knowledge of his own steroid use and records of financial transactions between McMahon and Sahorian that can shatter his defense. Laura fixed that. Job well done. Vince says in a press conference, I wish to state that my heart goes out to my attorney, Laura Bravetti, and her husband, Marty Bertman. That same yellow journalists who have had to eat crow for telling lies are once again incestuously, love that he said that, joining forces, trying to drum up support for their own personal agenda, trying to manufacture some reason to save face, attempting to perpetuate some theory of witness tampering. Gentlemen, is that the best you can do? Say what you want about Vince. That man has such a way with words. The establishing a venue is a legal requirement that cases brought in the area where the alleged crimes occur becomes a key point in the trial. Although Dr. Sahorian sold steroids in Pennsylvania, the charges against Vince and WWE were brought by the East District of New York. Prosecutors demonstrated that some steroid distribution happened in the Eastern District. Emily said she delivered steroids to Hogan at the Nassau Coliseum. They found out she was lying because the dates didn't match. Nice try, bitch. The witness who could do the most damage would be Hulk Hogan, who recently signed with WCW.
Yes, but they could not get him.
Yes, Hogan was granted immunity for anything that he would reveal on the stand about how he got his steroids from Dr. Sahorian while working for McMahon. The trial caused a rift between Hogan and Vince, and everyone thought he was going to bury Vince on the stand. He was the star witness that would put Vince in jail.
And he didn't.
Even though Hogan defended Vince, Vince still resented him for testifying for the federal government.
Yeah.
That makes no fucking sense.
It's Vince.
Vince, you are a petty motherfucker. You held a grudge over a guy who practically saved you from going to jail.
Saved you. Unlike this fucker.
Yeah. Hogan framed it and said there was no conspiracy. He said if he had extra roids, he would give it to Vince, and if Vince had extra, he'd give it to Hogan. That doesn't make him a drug dealer because there's no money exchanged. He said Vince never sold him steroids or injected him with steroids. That killed their whole case. Sean O'Shea declined to be interviewed by Darkside of the Ring, and basically in his closing arguments cut a promo on Vince, trying to make him out to be a corporate drug dealer who doesn't respect wrestling, and said other horrible things that a judge would normally never let a prosecutor say. Vince made money off the steroid wrestlers took, and he treats wrestlers like slabs of meat. Stephanie ran to the courtroom crying. Jeremy calmed down and said, this case is all sizzle and no steak, all icing and no cake, much like AEW. They haven't heard me talk yet. Internal memos show the feds didn't get Anavar removed from the market. The Jeremy demanded to know if it was true. The judge said it's true, and that killed the prosecution's case because they claimed WWE was defrauding a government that is trying to protect the people, and they didn't protect the people. The government came after a family business with flimsy arguments the jury watched crumble right before their very eyes. Linda and Miz were nervous and scared when it came time for the verdict. This was one of the few trials where the defense didn't call a single witness, and they won. Vince was found not guilty. The crowd in the courtroom popped like Hogan had just won the title in Madison Square Garden. WWE was acquitted of all the charges as well. They celebrate at the hotel, and he takes off his neck brace and waves it around for a moment and then immediately puts it back on. Jerry and Vince have an unbreakable bond because of this fight.
Yes, this guy became a major dick. He then died, and now he's in hell, burning eternally because he's a fucking asshole. Thank you. I'm the Gator, and I'll see you later.
Hey, guys. Sorry about that. You see, what had happened was the Zoom meeting was about to run out of time on us, and Gator's cell phone battery was about to die. That's why he was running through really quick and doing the whole, I'm the Gator, and I'll see you later, and why I was going through the facts of the steroid trials really, really fast to try to get through everything to make sure all the information was presented and given out there. So Gator decided since his battery was dying, he didn't want to be on the wrap up. So I'll just share some final thoughts here before we wrap this episode up. And basically all I want to say is this is one of the flimsiest trials I've ever seen in my life. And it's hilarious that it was, again, all sizzle and no steak, all icing and no cake. You know, they were doing all this glitz and glamour to try to paint Vince McMahon as this horrible piece of shit human being. And at the end of the day, he never once sold them steroids or prescribed them steroids. No one on the stand said that Vince forced them to do anything. The wrestlers did it on their own free will because they wanted to get the type of bodies that Vince liked. But nowhere did Vince say you had to take steroids. Vince had a preference on how he wanted wrestlers to look. Some of them were able to go into the gym and work out and get in shape and look like that. Some people had to do steroids to look like that. Some people did steroids to pump up their physique. You know? And I have no issue with steroids in sports. I really don't. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The fact that we obsess over that when there's so many other things we could obsess over is goddamn ridiculous. My philosophy is if you want to take steroids, take them. If you don't. But I don't think it makes you a cheater. I don't think it makes you a piece of shit. I don't think it makes you an absolute disgrace. Trust me, as I said before, there are plenty of other things athletes and wrestlers have done to put themselves in the category of being an absolute disgrace. And in this show, we've met quite a bit. So that, ladies and gentlemen, will wrap up this episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the Ring. Now, luckily, we have found out from the creators of Darkside of the Ring. They recently mentioned this they mentioned on Jericho's podcast, Jim Cornette's podcast. There's supposed to be some kind of press release that at some point there will be a Darkside of the Ring season 4. We don't know when that's going to happen. It'll probably happen maybe next year it'll air. Because I know this year the creators are working on a different project. That's why we didn't have a season 4. But then hopefully they're going to get back on the grind and work on season 4. And if they have a season 4 of Darkside of the Ring, I will, of course, have the group back with me. I will be looking at them for which episodes they want to be a part of. And if there's episodes I got to do by myself, so be it. If not, I'll have the team with me. But one thing I mentioned on the Boochcast, for those of you who listen to the podcast version of this show, if you listen to the podcast, you know what I'm about to say. Those of you that don't, my first question is, why are you not listening to the podcast? And the other thing is, I'm going to reveal what they are. I said I would have a special surprise at the end of this episode. And here it is. While we wait for season 4 of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the Ring and bring back Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the Ring, I have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 new shows coming to the YouTube channel. Now, these are going to be done a lot differently. Now, this first reveal will be done by myself and Gator Ricky Ross, provided that Gator doesn't fucking flake out on me on any more recordings, which is an ongoing issue we've been having. If he can get the stuff done that I need to get done and stop flaking on me, and we get everything done on time, then he'll do this show. If not, I may hand it off to somebody else. But as of now, this will be myself and Gator Ricky Ross. We're going to be doing the Boochcast Reviews Tales from the Territories. That's right. This is the show that the creators of Darkside of the Ring have been doing this year. That's why we didn't have a season 4. But Gator and I will be going through the territories each episode and doing a review. And I've chosen Gator for this because Gator is obsessed with the territory days of professional wrestling. He loves Southern wrestling. He loves territory wrestling. He lives for it. So I know Gator will be perfect for this. But I'm not going to let him do it if he keeps fucking up. But we're going to have a great time. Boochcast Reviews, Tales from the Territories. The second big announcement that I got, another project coming. The Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the 90s is another one we're going to be doing. That, of course, will be done by myself and the broke soulless ginger, Zach Scott, will be joining me for that one. Zach, as you guys know, if you listen to the podcast, he is a big 90s freak. He loves the 90s. He's obsessed with the 90s. So I knew he would be perfect for this show. At the time that I'm sitting in this chair recording this video here, we've already got 2 videos already recorded. We're in the process of getting 2 others recorded. And once we get them all together, we will be releasing them out to you guys for y'all to check out. So Boochcast Reviews, Darkside of the 90s, coming to the YouTube channel. Now, announcement number 3. This is going to be a big one. And this will be done by a good friend of mine who will be returning to the Boochcast to talk football with us. The one and only NFL exporter, Lance Goodman, is coming back to the show. He's going to be making a few appearances here and there, talking football, pro football, college football. Actually, he's going to do college football on his show, and Zach will make some appearances, but we're going to be bringing him on here. So all you football fans out there, Lance is going to be coming back to the show, not only to talk football on the podcast, but also for the YouTube, the Boochcast Reviews Dark Side of Football. That's right. I know the football episode came out a while back, but not a lot of us were heavy into football, so I saw no reason to bring it to the Boochcast. But with Lance Goodman back, we're going to be doing Dark Side of Football. So be on the lookout for Lance and I bringing that to the YouTube channel. And last but not least, This is an episode that will feature none of my Boochcast co-hosts. Instead, I'm going to have special guests appearing on the show with me. And this show will be the Boochcast Reviews Dark Side of Comedy. That's right, the Dark Side of Comedy. And joining me on this show will be special guest comedians that will be joining me. Each episode will have a comedian, a friend of mine that's in comedy, will be on this show with me. Some of the Atlanta comics are going to be on here. I might get some comics from out of state. If any of them want to do it, I might do like a Zoom call with them, Zoom video to bring it out there. But I'm going to have special guest comedians for each episode of Dark Side of Comedy. So be on the lookout for those videos coming soon to the Boochcast YouTube channel. I guarantee you it's going to be just as fun as Dark Side of the Ring. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys follow us on all of our podcast platforms. The links are down in the description box below. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. The link is down in the description box below. Support the Boochcast by going to anchor.fm/theboochcast/support. The link is down in the description box below. And of course, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified. So you'll see when we'll have more episodes of Boochcast Reviews Dark Side of the Ring, as well as the other Boochcast YouTube content that I mentioned, as well as other content that will be coming in the future. Talk to you guys next time. Until then, pizza, baby!